Well, hello and welcome everybody on September the 17th for the 214th episode of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. This is just something that I was inspired to do, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And the whole purpose of Ascension with A Course in Miracles is to allow just God, source, spirit, Jesus, whoever, whatever you want to call it. It's tapping into that infinite mind. Hello, sister. Um, Tapping into the infinite mind and allowing it to just flow through me. This means just getting the ego out of the way. So that's why I call it it's a transmission. I'm just transmitting whatever comes through. And it's always about A Course in Miracles, and it always leads to something within the course. And I was just talking to Richard here. Got a haircut early this morning because I'm in mountain time, so everything happens much earlier over here for me to keep up with the Eastern time zone. But anyhow, I went and got my hair cut, and I've got so much more gray. I'm starting to look as wise as Richard. So anyhow, and Janie, you've got beautiful, because you've got a combination of blonde and silver there. No, well, I can't hear you because you're muted. Any,
Yeah, it's just white.
it's just white. Oh, well, I'm starting to look whiter. So wiser like you guys. Hello, beautiful Natalia and Stacy. So glad to have you guys here.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Still enjoying that beautiful Georgia weather. I'll tell you, last night we got our first snow. Just a dusting, but the peaks that are right behind us, literally that's what look at on this side of the house is now we've got a little bit of snow on the peaks. Anyways, it's starting, and those are like 12,000 feet, and I'm at 9,000 elevation, but uh everything is changing, everything is moving. We are in a world where we have taken no time because time does not exist. One of the principal tenets of A Course in Miracles is there is no such thing as time. We've made that up. God did not create time. God created the eternal now. We sliced it up and divided up into time. So we have this experience of yesterday and today and tomorrow. So we have spring and summer and fall and winter. Everything has gotten broken up to give us the opportunity to have a linear experience, which is a lovely thing because when we incarnate, or have this experience of being incarnated, taking on a physical body, we benefit from time, so we can have birth and death. And then what we do with that time in between is totally up to us. But because we are eternal, when we drop the bodysuit that we need to use to travel from point A to point, Z, and have the human experience, what happens is when we drop that bodysuit, what is left is just the energy that we are, the essence that we are, which is eternal. And today we're going to continue in the theme that we started a couple of weeks ago, and that's the theme of holiness. And today is the last one in the series because it's lesson 39. My holiness is my salvation. So let me just give you a quick little recap of the titles that we have been looking at. And we started with lesson 35, my mind is part of God's, I am holy. Lesson 36, my holiness envelops everything I see, because it is only the holiness within us, that eternal part of us, that can look at the big picture, where the ego part of us focuses on the here and now, the birth and death and what happens in between. Lesson 37 says, my holiness blesses the world. As we begin to understand who we really are as a child of God, we cannot help but bless all of humanity because we know we're one with all of it. Lesson 38 that we looked at last week says, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Once we begin to embrace the holy essence of who we are, we begin to operate very differently in the world, because once you know that you're eternal, once that you know you're holy, and so is everybody else, who is there to fear? We're all brothers and sisters, and actually we're more than brothers and sisters. Brother and sister is a really uh I'm going to say an easy way for us to work our way to acknowledging that we are one with all that is. We are one with God. We're one with each other. We are each other. Bottom line, that's where this leads, is that we are each other, but each is expressing in a unique way within that time frame that is a temporary experience. So I'm showing up to experience life from this perspective. Natalia shows from that perspective. Richard comes from this one. Stacy, Janie, Bob, Billy, everybody, including Charlie Kirk. We all come in from a specific perspective to offer a tiny little piece of the puzzle, if you will. I guess I'm going to mix metaphors here. So we're like a drop of the ocean. We're like a piece of the puzzle. We're like a jelly bean in a jelly bean jar. Every one of us is a specific expression of that which is the all that isness. The whole ocean is made up of different droplets. There would be no whole ocean without those droplets, the experience of those droplets. So we are each those droplets that allow for life to experience all possibilities. God is infinite. God is all that is. God is everything. I cannot be everything in this one moment. So I volunteer to, because I choose through my free will, I will play this role. You will play that role. And of course, when we incarnate and we have the experience of forgetting who we are, the ego takes over, and we experience the game of separation as if we were really truly separate from one another. Then we begin the process of descending. Descending means we come from high frequency where we are one, where we are absolutely connected to all that is. There is no separation, there's no division. It's just all oneness. It's just the ocean. We are in that state of consciousness where it's all one, period. We make a decision to break away, to have an experience that what if I am other than what I am? What if I'm my own God? What if I am separate from everything else? And then we have that tiny mad idea. And here's what's so interesting that the Course has taught me. We have a tiny mad idea that what if I'm separate from God? But in the instant that we have the tiny mad idea, the only reason we take it seriously is because we forget to laugh at the insanity that we could possibly be separate. It's like the drop in the ocean says, "Oh, I am the whole ocean." In that mad idea, that one tiny little drop is the whole ocean. And it is, because here's the cool thing is that it is, but it operates as if that's all that is true. And the Course tells us we wouldn't suffer. We would not have this experience of separation if we would have remembered to laugh. If we simply would have remembered to go, okay, I'm not really separate from God. And I am not God by myself. I am not my own God. I am a part of God. And we accepted that we're having this separation, this experience, but still are one with God, still are one with each other. Then we would be experiencing the fifth dimensional consciousness instead of third dimensional consciousness. So we make this decision to incarnate. We lower our frequency. We have to shrink ourselves. We have to put barriers in our mind, call it the veil of forgetfulness, so that we can forget that we're all that is. Because let's just play this for 1 second and just indulge me. No matter when you're watching this, you can play along too. It is just as practical. Right now, allow yourself to remember that you are the loving God that created everything. You created it all. What would you not love? What would you not embrace and appreciate and enjoy. If you are the creator, if you are God, the creator of all that is, what would you not have that you want? What would you not have that you need? That mindset is the truth of who we are. When we understand a statement as we are reading in today's lesson 39, my holiness is my salvation. Think of the word holiness as wholeness. My wholeness is my salvation. Remembering that I am one with the creative source. I can do anything and everything the creative source can do except create myself. That's already done. I don't have to create myself. Here I am. But if I operated as if I am the creator of everything, would you operate in lack? Would you operate in worry? No, you wouldn't. In your wholeness, there would be nothing missing. In your acknowledgement of your oneness with God, you would begin to activate, to awaken within you the knowledge of what God, a loving God, would do. And here's something that I have just been thinking about so much and thinking, how am I going to incorporate this into Wednesday's conversation? And I was basically told, don't worry about that. It will be an effortless thing. And if it's meant to be, it will be. And that is that last week, while we were in the middle of Ascension with A Course in Miracles, and we were speaking on lesson 38, which is, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Charlie Kirk, our brother in Christ, was assassinated. It's been a week, and so much has been happening in the world. And it has been serving to show how absolutely important it is that we begin to remember the truth of who we are. If we all knew that we are one with God, if we all operated from that frequency, who would we have to kill? Whose opinions, ideas would bother us if we knew that we were all one, if we knew that we were all connected? But here's what happens. Because we have a free will and we choose to have an incarnation, and we take all of time, infinity, and we break it down into a time frame, and we incarnate now, and we all believe that we're separate from one another, and we're all at different levels of consciousness. And the reason that happens is because every single one of us, when we are born into a family, we are trained, conditioned, taught to believe what they believe. So our minds are filled with information to that level of consciousness, meaning we create lots of barriers, lots of walls until we just remember a tiny, tiny idea. We become so limited in our awareness of what is that we literally shrink ourselves into this small concept of who we are. Beings like Charlie Kirk, we talked about this in class last night. One of the fun things about the Awareness Academy is that we explore current events. We look at every current event, and depending on what path you're on in the mastery path, we look at current events. We have weekly conversations about taking what is happening out there and looking at it as from the lens of projection. I projected that out there so that I could have that experience. Because when you understand, when you remember, when you embody the knowingness that you are holy, your holiness, your wholeness is your salvation. You've got to correct your mind. You've got to go back to the remembering that you are all that is. So if you're all that is, there is no out there. So the out there, the perception of out there becomes what you look at as a mirror to reflect, who am I in here? So depending on where you're born in the world, the culture, the socioeconomic status, the religion, all of those things, the education that you receive, every one of us are in different places on this journey. We are all over the place. We're all over the map. We have shrunk our understanding to almost nothing. We have a little bit, we have some, we have more. So when you understand that you are all that is, then all that is becomes the classroom, the mirror to help you if you're practicing characteristics of a teacher of God, honesty. If you're practicing honesty, you will know I am all that is. I'm watching the movement that has been activated with Charlie Kirk's death, which has been fascinating to watch. You've got this group that is absolutely mourning the loss of somebody that they really saw as a teacher. They saw as somebody who had so much to offer, who was a living example of things that they valued. And then you've got another group that is celebrating that this man has been killed so that and they feel like, okay, this is better for us because now we have gotten rid of somebody who does not represent what we believe. So when you look at things like that and you play the game of observer, you just become a witness. Hello, sweet sister. You're just a witness. You can begin to see, and it makes perfect sense, that people are in different levels of consciousness. They are looking at this from the perspective of the information that they have, and that information, all of it, serves to limit our remembering the wholeness of who we are, which would incorporate that we are all one. So there is this group that feels that Charlie was an example of things that they want to grow into, things that they want to remember, that they want to embody. And one of the things that I saw, which was so cool, is this image of all these people wearing these t-shirts that said, I am Charlie. So everybody is Charlie in that group, meaning we're all one. And then, of course, there's this other side that says, no, we're separate and we're different and we're divided and blah, blah, blah. Now, what side you pick, all that shows is the level of consciousness that you're at. When we can begin to understand that as we descend, if you look at this chart, the spiral, this is a simplified version. We begin to be trained. Our mind gets indoctrinated in information that serves to block us from remembering the truth of who we are. We will lower ourselves because the energy that we are needs to not be in motion, meaning we're not expressing ourselves, we're not creating, we're not extending, we're not expanding creation. We begin to shrink ourselves. All of that energy that is supposed to be in motion, because that is what creation is, begins to be limited. So our talents, our ideas, whatever, we begin to not use those things. We begin to not express ourselves. And little by little, we become just an egoic identity. What is it that I believe that I must become, do, and have to do life right? When all that energy gets suppressed, that energy is no longer in motion and it creates the different levels of emotions that we feel. Emotion is energy, not emotion. So when you're having an outburst and you're all emotionally worked up, it's because you haven't been expressing yourself. So something happens, something gets activated, a murder, you get fired from a job, somebody breaks up with you. Now all of a sudden you have an eruption because now that energy gets put into motion. Depending on your level of awareness, if you're not in touch with these spiritual principles that you are the energy of all that is, you have believed this tiny mad idea that you're separate, you condense yourself. If you don't understand those principles, you're going to have an outburst. Those outbursts will show up in the form of anger, jealousy, frustration, revenge, uh, guilt, shame, whatever it might be. If you don't understand what's happening, well, you are going to have an outburst. But all that is happening is that energy is moving. That energy is trying to express itself so that you can become aware. Where are you on the scale of emotions? And when you don't understand that your emotion is a direct reflection of your state of consciousness, You're going to, if you're a bully, you're going to spray that on everybody else. You're going to let everybody else know how mad, how angry, how frustrated you are, how you want revenge. If your practice, because that requires a level of not only self-awareness, but maturity to take it and go, okay, this is a mirror. What is this reflecting about me? Then you can look at it, work with it, and bring yourself into a state of recognition of what is it that needs healing within you. And the only reason we need healing is because healing is a return of a piece of who we are back into wholeness. Wholeness is holiness. So when you begin to realize that everything is giving you a piece of yourself back, because it's reflecting what you're believing. So if you're mad and frustrated and angry that Charlie got killed and you want revenge, well, you're just showing that you have that in you. That's what's happening in you. If you're glad and you're more people should get shot and killed and you're celebrating that this happened, it's just showing you where you're at. That's all that it is showing you. And either way, it's going to show the ego. The ego is the victim or the bully, period. It's always that way. The more that we're willing to receive the projections, to look at them as the mirror that is showing us who we are, then we adjust here. But what humanity has been conditioned to believe, when we forget who we are and we shrink into these tiny crazy ideas of who we think we are, is that if I'm mad, I'm going to work on the mirror. I'm going to make the mirror smile, which is pretty insane. You don't make the mirror smile. You have to make yourself smile, and then you'll see the reflection on the mirror. But we have been trained, well, we're going to change everything out there, and then I get to be okay. I'm going to get rid of all the people that I don't like, and then I'll be happy, which is totally crazy. Do you know how many people you have to get rid of to be happy if you're operating in a state of delusion? Well, easily you could get rid of all of humanity and you still would be the last one left and you still would not be happy because you're attempting to make the changes on the reflection, not the projection. We are the projection. So as we look at remembering our holiness, the Course in Miracles is helping us to train our mind to get back to the place of recognizing that until you have done the work to heal yourself and reclaim the pieces of yourself that you have projected out there, you cannot move through the process of ascension. Ascension is the reclaiming of the truth of who you are and raising your frequency from operating in fear to operating in love, in anger to peace. And the reason we have anger, the reason we have fear is because we don't remember who we are. We're not acknowledging our holiness. Now, we got to be kind and gentle with ourselves. This overall is our fault, but it is not our fault. So it is our fault because, and when I say that, it's not to make ourselves guilty and feel bad that about this, but it's our fault because we are powerful creators and we chose to incarnate. We chose to have this human experience. And we cannot reverse what is happening, change the trajectory from descending to ascending until we do enough work to reclaim the recognition that we are creators of our reality. To come to accept that we're creators of our reality, we have to cultivate a different relationship with God. We need to understand what creation is about. We need to go back to the place that allows us to recognize, as we looked in class last night, that God created us to create, to extend the good, the beautiful, the holy. We've got to come back to knowing who we are as God created us. That means we got to question all of our beliefs about religion, all of our beliefs about how anything and everything is. So it is going to take humanity some time to do the work that is necessary with curiosity to see all of the things that we have been taught, to recognize what has been lies, what has been misinformation, and be mature enough to say, okay, I chose to incarnate. this is what happened. I descended. I was pulled into a frequency, which is where my parents were. That's pretty much where we begin. Our parents pull us to where they're at. They cannot pull us to higher than they are or even lower than they are. They pull us to where they are. They teach us what they know. Period. If your parents believe that they are amazing people, they'll teach you that. If your parents think, oh, I'm a loser, I'm no good, they'll teach you that. And then you will have a lifetime to sort that out. If you go on this journey to become self-aware, you will definitely discover, my parents' beliefs about who they are and who I am is their beliefs. What do I believe about me? This is a journey of who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? You find out on your own who you really are, separate from who your parents think that you are, from what society thinks that you are, or government or teachers or preachers teach you that you are. So we have to take responsibility for our own mind. And you cannot be in a state of responsibility for your mind if you're reacting. You can only be one who is more in self awareness and has more self control if you're responding. So, as we watch what's happening in the world, there is a very clear split that has happened. Now, if you are one who is attempting to understand your holiness and you're recognizing that your holiness is your salvation, then you can more clearly see all we have is people who are showing us what they value. Do they value murdering others? Do they value forgiveness? Excuse me. Do they value being right? Do they value being humble? That's all that's happening, which means they're just showing you where are they on the scale? Where are they? Are they moving through ascension, attempting to use what has happened for the greater good, attempting to learn from it and extrapolate that which allows all of us to experience the more that we can possibly be, which is what Charlie Kirk was attempting to teach people in his own way? Or are you one who is wanting to shrink, wanting everything to be about you, operating in the ego selfishness? Then what is happening is we're just showing where we're at. And that should not be judged. It should be honored. We should honor information because it helps us then see what's happening here. We are on a trajectory for a total complete splitting of timelines. So actually, the timelines are split because there's a million timelines. When there is no specific time, everything is timeless and everything is divided up by levels of consciousness. It's not good or bad. It just is. That's just the way that it is. Just as the day, it's not bad that it's nighttime. It's not good that it's daytime. It's just that these are different uh, gradations of sunlight. That's all that it is. Well, all of us are operating in different timelines because they're different gradations of consciousness. So we have to give ourselves permission to get honest and see, where am I? Where am I? When we understand that we are on a trajectory through ascension to return to wholeness, to remember that we're one. When we operate in that space, wars and cheating and lying and stealing and none of that will be possible because we will know that we are one. We will know that we all chose to incarnate and bring about the talents and the experiences that we wanted to enjoy for a short blip in eternity. So let's go to today's lesson. My holiness is my salvation. Understanding what this means is so key for what is happening right now. So it starts off in paragraph 1. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Like the text for which this workbook was written, the ideas used for the exercises are very simple, very clear, and totally unambiguous. The text is very clear. In the academy, we've got the advanced Course in Miracles class. We're working our way through the text. In the academy, we also have the basic ACIM. We're working through the lessons because when you begin to look at both and you begin to put them into practice, understand the text so that you can conceptualize what's happening, look at the lessons and see how they work, you begin to see it's very simple. It's all of it is very simple and very unambiguous. There is no room for interpretation when you understand how simple the course is. Sentence 3. We are not concerned with intellectual feats nor logical toys. We are dealing only with the very obvious, which has been overlooked in the clouds of complexity in which you think you think. We have been trained into believing IQ is so important and the more you know, the better, and you got to get all these certificates and you've got to go through continuing education and all these things, filling your mind with information. And look how many degrees I have and how many letters are after my name: PhD, LMNOP, all of those letters that we are attempting to accumulate to prove who we are actually dumbing us down because they're numbing us from remembering the truth of who we are. The course is not interested in you getting a certificate that you have studied or have become a master of A Course in Miracles. The course is very simple. Are you experiencing life as the holy being that you are? Then you're loving all that is. And those who don't remember that they are loved, then you recognize that they're calling for love. Plain and simple. So I love it that Jesus just makes it really clear for us that this is what's going on here. So, paragraph 2. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Let's not complicate this. This is not difficult, surely. The hesitation you may feel in answering is not due to the ambiguity of the question. But do you believe that guilt is hell? If you did, you would see at once how direct and simple the text is. And you would not need a workbook at all. We wouldn't need those lessons. No one need no one needs practice to gain what is already his. So, why are we studying all these things? We're studying all these things to help us remember what is already within. That is one of the beauties of the course. Is it's a course in mind training. It's an individual course. You have to do it for yourself. You got to come in here, take an inventory of what is it that you think, what is it that you believe, and begin to sort it out by what has value, what is valueless. What is valueless is all the stuff that you attempt to do and to become and to have so you can be somebody. Because look at the fallacy of that. We've all been trained that we got to do all these things to be somebody someday, to be happy someday, to have someday. That is the lie that we have all been operating under, that we're already not enough and we got to become something. So right there, if you understood, you already are all that you are. You are not going to become anything by doing the text. If anything, you're going to let go of beliefs that distract you from accepting who you are. Paragraph number 3. We have already said that your holiness is the salvation of the world. What about your own salvation? You cannot give what you do not have. A savior must be saved. How else can he teach salvation? Today's exercises will apply to you, recognizing that your salvation is crucial to the salvation of the world. As you apply the exercises to your world, the whole world stands to benefit. Bottom line, as you begin to accept that there's nothing missing in you, you then don't need to take anything from anybody else. As you begin to accept that you were created in the image of love, you don't need to go looking for love in all the wrong places. As you accept that you are worthy, you don't need to tear somebody down to find your worth there. So as we're watching the world dividing, those who followed Charlie, when you listen to the people who followed Charlie, who believed in what he was teaching, the primary things, there's just a handful of things that are universal in people's expressions of why they value Charlie. Number one, his faith. He believed in God. Now, he believed in the God of the church. He believed in the religious teachings. So what? So what? He believed in God. He was open about his belief in God. What a beautiful thing. Because when you think about humanity, so many don't even believe in God, don't want to believe in God, fear God, think God is terrible. Why bother with a God who would turn you into a pillar of salt? He was very open about his relationship with God. That just lets you know there was something within him. There was a level of consciousness that recognized that there is more to what is going on here than just him. He believed in this invisible creator that created everything. What a beautiful thing to have a conviction in. Now, if you're one who has grown up remembering or learning or hearing about all of the atrocities that have been committed in the name of God, the inquisitions, the people who have been murdered, the Christians who have been gunned down, or people of different faiths, if you don't believe in my God and you've got to do it this way, then we're going to kill you, we're going to get rid of you. Well, there's a lot of fear around God and religion and religious people. I get that. But then go a little deeper. What was something that he believed in? He believed that we deserved, everybody deserves to be heard. That because we are the children of God, everybody deserves to be heard. And what he was attempting to do for the short 14 years of his life as a teacher, 14, 13, 14, I can't remember. He started when he was 18, he died at 31. You can do the math. For that short period of time, he wanted to show people that he really valued their opinions. He didn't have to agree with them, but he valued them to the point that he gave them the microphone. Here, I want to hear what you have to say. If you say something that changes my mind, awesome. If I say something that changes your mind, awesome. We deserve to hear what each other has to say so that we can each expand our knowledge. And if we were mistaken, we learned something. We helped each other. If you don't want to take what I have to say and I don't want to take what you have to say, we at least honored each other's individual expression. What a gift. What a gift that says, I value who you are. I may not agree with what you say, but I value who you are. That comes because he believes the teachings of Jesus. He believes that we are all brothers and sisters, that we are to treat our neighbors how we want to be treated. So he lived that. He absolutely was the embodiment of that. And the other thing that people really respected about him, as if those things were not enough. We don't have too many good examples of that. But on top of that, he understood the Constitution of the United States. He understood what this country was founded on. He understood the sacrifices that were made by the men who, at the time, every single one of them, the founding fathers, every single one of them, had a relationship with God. To whatever degree they had it, they knew that all men are created equal, that all men are endowed with the same inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everybody's life matters. Charlie knew your opinion matters because you are an expression from God. You have liberty. You have the freedom to believe whatever you want. I have the freedom to believe what I want. So let's hear what each other thinks. And through the sorting out of information, we can expand our awareness of what's possible. Isn't that just like a lovely thing that would be normal for if you're treating your neighbor as you want to be treated? You hear me, I hear you. And the pursuit of happiness. He believed that our financial systems, our educational systems, I mean, he used to go talk to in colleges, and he would tell people, don't waste your money and time in a college education. It's worthless. He didn't have a college education. And he was showing, listen, I know a lot because I study it, because I go find it. I don't let my mind be programmed by an institution to think how they want me to think, which was so amazing that he would be talking on college campuses, telling people, hey, watch what you're accepting as the programming that you're receiving. Question what you know, because he believed that God created us to be happy. that we all deserved better than what we had. He was willing to question the school systems, question the financial systems, question the medical systems. He stood up for what he believed was if you have a direct relationship with God, you will be able to be guided. You don't need somebody else out there with a PhD who thinks that they know better telling you what to do. So those people who were wanting to connect with their own intuition, their own inner knowing, loved what he was saying. So he was wanting these people young people, obviously, amazing, those who had been pulled into lower frequency, well, into lower understanding, the lower information that their parents and the teachers and the preachers were giving them, but inside of them, there was still this higher frequency. See, all the children who have been born since the harmonic convergence in 1987, 88 came in with a higher frequency, meaning they came in with a knowing that who they are matters. But then they get conditioned by school and church and communities and parents into feeling guilty about themselves, feeling guilty. I'm too white. I'm guilty. I'm a girl. Guilty. I'm a boy. We have created a system that has made people be so confused about who they are that then you bring somebody like a Charlie Kirk who's telling them, no, you are as God created you. You're amazing. You're magnificent. You deserve better. You shouldn't settle for less. You deserve a happy life. You deserve to have more money. You deserve to do what you enjoy doing. That's what he was out promoting, even though it was inside of the teachings of the Bible. But I've been watching a lot of his videos of the last couple of years. He was going through an awakening. He was beginning to see things. He was changing his mind about certain things. He was supporting Israel at one point. He was beginning to doubt Israel. He was beginning to see some of the things that were taking place. And frankly, in my perspective, this is why they got rid of him. He was questioning too much. There was too many sacred cows because he wanted to be open. He wanted truth to be expressed. So the ego operates in secrets. The ego operates in lies. So when you have a question like this that says, is guilt hell? Well, this is what the Course wants us to understand. Everybody who is operating inside of this world and is listening to the ego is carrying a level of guilt. The Course wants you to see where this guilt is coming from so that we can begin the process of changing our mind. So let's keep going here. Well, let me just read the last sentences of this paragraph 3 again. Today's exercises will apply to you, recognizing that your salvation is crucial to the salvation of the world. You need to understand that you are as God created you. And if you come to that understanding through the Bible, if you come to that understanding through A Course in Miracles, if you come to that understanding through whatever teachings, Buddhism, Hinduism, if you come to that understanding that you are as God created you and you really want to know, who am I? Why am I here? You begin to awaken something inside of you that leads you on the journey of ascension, a journey of remembering who you are. And you save yourself. And to save yourself is to spare yourself this suffering that is only possible by listening to the voice of the ego. So then what happens? As you apply the exercises to your world, your own personal inner world, the whole world stands to benefit from it. And that's what Charlie was doing. He was sharing his message, and he would share it in all these schools, and these kids in all these schools around the country. And he spoke also around the world, but around the country, let's just stay here in the US since this is where I am. Those kids in those schools began to think differently, to think better of themselves. They then were sharing that with their friends, were sharing that in their homes. They were becoming more confident, more certain, making changes that were allowing them to basically live in the way that Charlie just happened to be the one who gave them permission to do, until their minds were mature enough to accept that they are as God created them, and then discover what does that mean? All of them following the teachings of Jesus, because the bottom line of what Charlie was talking about is that he believed in Jesus as his Lord and Savior. Now, I grew up Catholic, and that those were kind of the teachings that I grew up with, but I did not believe in that fully. When I began to move down my own spiritual journey, I began to realize that Jesus didn't tell me to be like him, to that I needed to have him be my Lord and Savior. Jesus is teaching me very clearly. You look at A Course in Miracles, it tells you you are just like me. You and I are no different. Don't be in awe of me, but let me show you how I came to remember the truth of who I am. And if you follow that path, you will have the way to get there. Course in Miracles is the way to get to where Jesus got. Not for me to go, oh, bow down to Jesus, but for me to say, thank you, brother, for helping me out. That's all that Charlie was doing. He was just helping out his brothers and sisters remember the truth of who they are. That is what Jesus did for us. And every single one of us, if we look at ourselves, accept ourselves for who we are the consciousness of the Christ. We are Jesus. We are Charlie. We're all Laina. And when we accept that we are made in the image of a creative source that wants us to remember the truth of who we are so that we can come together to expand the kingdom, then we're all working on the same team. We're all part of the same team. How we say it doesn't matter as long, what words we use, as long as we are embodying the consciousness of truth, the consciousness of freedom, the consciousness of peace, the consciousness of respect, the consciousness of love. Those are high frequency experiences. And of course, anything that's high vibrating in this world that the ego has made is always going to be a target. Because just as they got rid of Jesus for telling us, hey, you are one with God, you deserve better. Well, of course, the same fate has been found with, our brother Martin Luther King Jr., telling us you should not be looked at based on your skin color. You should be looked at based on the content of your character. So people who are teaching us through the examples that they're setting for us, what they believe in, if it's about returning to wholeness, returning to valuing yourself and acknowledge you were created by a creator that really wants you to be happy, well, those are inconvenient people for a system that is attempting to pull us down, to oppress us, to suppress us, and to keep us in a mindset that is limited. If you're ascending, your work is to be able to see the difference, but then to recognize. So we need to forgive these people. They really do not know what they're doing. They are in suffering. They're in hell. We move out of hell not by judging those who are in hell, but by bringing heaven to earth. We create the salvation that is necessary to spare our minds from all the lies that we have been believing that create our suffering. If you didn't have thoughts that said that there's something wrong with you, you would not feel bad about yourself, period. So we've got to find these thoughts. We've got to become aware of them. Easiest way to be aware of them, look outside and see what you're judging. And then you'll see, oh, this is what I'm believing about these people. This is a trajectory that I'm on. I'm ascending or I'm descending. So let's go to paragraph number 4. Your holiness is the answer to every question that was ever asked, is being asked now, or will be asked in the future. Our holiness is the answer, period. There is just nothing else that is going to help us. Our holiness is the answer. Your holiness means the end of guilt and therefore the end of hell. The end of guilt and the end of hell is the end of believing in illusions, is the end of believing in the ego. Let me keep going here. Your holiness is the salvation of the world and your own. How could you, to whom your holiness belongs, be excluded from it? How could you, as a drop of the ocean, not be the essence of what the ocean is all about? God does not know unholiness. Can it be that he does not know his son? God created us, all of us absolutely holy. One of the things that I so appreciated about Charlie is his willingness to question his own beliefs. And as he began to question his own beliefs, he was growing, maturing spiritually. He was realizing that he really believed the teachings that his parents gave him, which were, religiously based, Bible based, Christian based. but he was growing, he was maturing, he was remembering who he is. In one of the in I guess one of the classes this week in the academy, we looked at some videos of a gentleman who had an apparition of Charlie's soul after Charlie was shot. And the thing that Charlie said to him is that he, from the other side, now that he's not no longer in a physical body, no longer contained, but being able to see the whole picture, that he learned that even though he was doing great work and he was helping people come to know God, he was still doing it from a place of I'm right and you're wrong. And what he now knows that he would do differently is that everybody is right where they're at because they're all the children of God. So we're all going to continue to expand and evolve and move through the ascension process into greater understandings of the truth of who we are. But we're all starting where we're at inside of this human experience. And those who are operating in judgment and anger, they carry guilt. They may not be aware of that guilt. I wasn't aware of how much guilt I had because I was too busy trying to become and do and have and prove that I'm right and that I'm good and that I'm worthy and that I'm so busy in all that proving. I'd never had time to sit and listen to the deepest longings in my heart. When I began this journey and I began to listen, the last place I wanted to go was listen to what was going on inside of me. It was so much easier to going shopping, going to a party, getting drunk or decorating or going on vacation or getting my hair done or my nails. It was always fun being distracted with something external. But when I had to start sitting and listening to what was going on inside of me, I heard the most vile things I had ever heard. I would never let somebody say this to me, but I was saying it to me. Who do you think you are? What makes you think you're special? What makes you think you're listening to Jesus? What makes you think that you're worthy of salvation? I was saying these things to myself. And as I began to sit to do the most uncomfortable thing, which was hearing my own thoughts, I began to hear deep down inside this wounded little girl who, when I finally sat and listened to what she had to say, she was scared. That was my 2-year-old, my 1-year-old, my newborn, who was a disappointment to my family, my dad, because I did not come out a boy. I carried that guilt. I'm the reason my family's not happy. I'm the reason dad left. Guilt that I was not the boy that my parents wanted because I had no idea that I am holy. I didn't know that. I just was like everybody else, taking in the information that the outside gave me and made an opinion of who I am based on what they thought of me, not in what God thinks of me. So as you begin to peel the layers, you will come to that place within, because one of the obstacles to peace is guilt. We all carry this guilt that we have not been loving enough, that we have not been good enough, peaceful enough, gentle enough, kind enough. If we sit and we listen to all that, that is the festering insanity inside each and every one of us that needs to be purified, because we have got to accept I am holy. Doesn't matter what my dad thought. Doesn't matter what I did. It doesn't matter the cheating, the lying, any of that I did. All of it to survive, all of it to thrive in my own deluded ideas of how things are. And when I got to the bottom of it, inside of us are two voices. There's this scared part of you that is attempting to keep you small, to keep you, to prove yourself. Is the ego, is the personality that gets built in an attempt to make up for the emptiness that we feel when we are not recognized as the holy being that we are by our parents, because they can't see our holiness, they can't see our light, they are in the dark, they don't remember their own holiness, they just want us to be, to do life better than they are. So we're always being measured by their stick, not by God's, and it's always going to fall short. And then there's that other voice inside each and every one of us. It's the voice of the holiness, of the truth of who we are. I am holy. not because Laina's deciding that I'm holy, but because God created me holy. And the highest form of spiritual maturity is to accept yourself as God created you. And everybody else is the same. When we can see each other for how God created us, we stop having our own judgments, our own opinions, because we cannot possibly know the magnitude of what God knows about each and every single being. So this course is attempting to train our minds to return us to sanity, where we remember the truth of who we are and we begin to treat our neighbors as ourselves. You save yourself, you spare yourself listening to these lies of your ego. You begin to accept the truth of your soul. You are as God created you. You are holy. I am holy. Every one of you is holy. Why? Because you're all me. I am you. From that place, there's nothing, nowhere to go except for expansion. How can we make this better for all of us? When you are accepting your perfection, the world will absolutely change because you will see only opportunities to be in service. That's the path that every one of us is going to be taken on, to be in service to humanity. Let me go to paragraph number 5. And this just gives us instructions on how to do this exercise. So a full 5 minutes are urged for the 4 longer practice periods for today, and longer and more frequent practice sessions are encouraged. If you want to exceed the minimum requirements, more rather than longer sessions are recommended, although both are suggested. So we're just being told exactly what to do. And then it goes on to tell us to begin the practice period as usual by repeating today's idea to yourself: my holiness is my salvation. Then you close your eyes and you search your unloving thoughts in whatever form they appear: uneasiness, depression, anger, fear, worry, attack, insecurity, and so on. The Course in Miracles is a masterful program that if you do the exercises exactly as you're told to do, you're going to see the very unloving thoughts that exist in your mind. Those are the blocks to the awareness of the truth that is inside of us, of our holiness. Inside of us is the battle between the voice that tells us I'm not who I am and the voice that recognizes who I am, but that voice, because it's so gentle, it's so soft, it has been relegated to the back. It's been put back there. No, I'm not going to listen to that voice, because if I acknowledge that I'm holy, I'm being conceited. I don't want to be conceited. No, instead, I'm going to think that I'm a piece of shit. So we have to go inside and enter the battleground where we've got 2 opposing perspectives. The way to do that is to begin to sit and allow these unloving thoughts to come up. Whatever form they take, they are unloving and therefore fearful. And so it is from them that you need to be saved. So, why is my holiness my salvation? Because inside of you is the truth of who you are. You are the light of the world. Until you get comfortable, I am as God created me. And then in time, through humility, begin to acknowledge God and I are one. What Jesus taught us, and accept that you are that magnificent essence of creation, or creator that can create and extend the kingdom wherever you are, because your footsteps are as holy as Jesus's, as Charlie's, as Hitler's. Yes, we're going to bring everybody into the same conversation because all are children of God in different levels of delusion. We're not going to judge our brothers and sisters because of their delusions. We're just going to recognize I was deluded too. And I'm not going to compare my little delusion to Hitler's big delusion. We're not going to do that, because delusion is delusion. Delusion is a block to the acceptance of who we are. And when we don't accept the truth of who we are, the goodness, the godliness, the beauty of who we are, we then do things that are unloving, that are not beautiful, that are not godly. And we can't blame anybody for what they have done when they don't remember the truth of who they are. So the work of ascension is to remember who you are, be that light, and then treat others as you would like to be treated when you were in your own journey. What I wanted more than anything on my journey was to be heard, was to be accepted. I could have been changing so much faster if I would have been heard. I had such sadness and anger inside of me because my dad didn't love me. You know, that stuff's coming up. How beautiful. Thank you. When you don't feel loved by your parents, when you don't feel safe in your household, you project that onto the world. You want to attack the world. You might put on a pretty face. You might think, you're such a loving person and you're such a generous person and you put on all the parties and you volunteer and you do all these things, but all of that is a mask to the not being seen that every child experiences at some point in their life. I don't care how wonderful your parents were. And most of us can say that we had some wonderful experiences. Many of us can say that they were not. It doesn't matter, good or bad, deep down inside, you know you were not seen. This is an opportunity to accept. God sees you. God knows you. As a matter of fact, God cannot see you as anything other than pure perfection. But you have to do the work to save yourself from the hell that is inside your own mind because you're believing things that are not true. Every time we compare ourselves to somebody, oh, they're so much better, they're so much thinner, they're so much taller, they're so much smarter, they're so much richer. All of that comparison is programming that we have received that keeps us so busy doing and trying to get and achieve and become, and that you don't have time to sit down and get to know who you are. And if you sit down and find out who you are, that is the greatest threat to the establishment that needs humanity to remain enslaved into a belief system that keeps us oppressed. Charlie just simply gave people the opportunity to speak their voice. Whether he agreed with them or not is really irrelevant. People were heard, were seen, and that has sparked a fire inside so many young people. And guess what? These young people, these teens, 20 somethings, early 30 somethings, they are the ones who are going to be running the world soon. Not soon enough for me, because their minds are way more brilliant than all these old farts that we have running the world, running corporations that really keep doing the same old crap, expecting different results. All of it to benefit most of them, not all of humanity. We're in the middle of some big changes. I am an absolute believer that the current administration is beginning to show it's the beginning process of undoing what needs to be undone. Just what Trump just proposed yesterday or the day before, term limits. Term limits. If those term limits were in place, 78%, I believe that was the number. I could be mistaken. Maybe it was 60% or 68% of the people who are currently in office would not be there. Nobody should make a career out of service to humanity. All of us should participate in serving humanity. That means we all take turns to be in service in some way, shape, or form. But when you make a career and you're managing things at the highest of levels where the biggest monies, the biggest power is possible, we have a problem, a big problem. We need to be saved from the lies that we're not good enough, that we don't have enough to offer, that we're not amazing enough, that we're not smart enough, that we're not capable enough. Those are the lies that keep us in hell, and the hell is within. That's the battleground that the Course in Miracles wants us to get clear, to rise above the battleground inside of us so we can see and begin to sort out which voice is valuable, which one is valueless. And then align with the one that has value, because when you begin to accept the truth of who you are as God created you, it's a process of humbleness. It's a process of beginning to accept that there is so much goodness in this world that we're not experiencing because we don't remember. that it is the truth, but it is there for us to uncover. Paragraph 7. So specific situations, events, or personalities you associate with unloving thoughts of any kind are suitable, no matter what you're thinking. They're suitable for today's exercises. It is imperative for your salvation that you see them differently. We're being taught to look at all of these thoughts that we have and begin to look at them differently. And it is your blessing on them that will save you and give you vision. When I can bless myself and go, I chose to incarnate. I chose to have this human experience. The script is already written. Course in Miracles has taught me to accept it is what it is. I chose these parents. I chose the dad who was not going to be happy that I was a girl. Why did I do that? Instead of blaming dad and blaming, feeling bad that I'm not who I am, it was the opportunity was for me to go through the journey of being upset, being guilty, being a people pleaser because I was trying to make sure people didn't abandon me because I wasn't what they wanted, so that I could see how I lied to myself, so that I could see how it sent me on a journey to want to find out who I really am. So it served me greatly to have the contrast of listening to my ego and then beginning the journey of learning to love myself just as God created me. It let me feel the love of God, because when you love yourself like God loves you, it's unconditional. And I began to feel, that's how I began to feel what love really is, the love of God. And once I began to love me exactly as I was, it became so much easier to love everybody where they're at, because then I had such compassion for everybody. We suffer because we don't know what we don't know. Paragraph 8 says, slowly, without conscious selection and without undue emphasis on any one in particular, search your mind for every thought that stands between you and your salvation. You cannot skip this. Nobody is going to awaken that attempts to skip this. You must search your mind for every thought that stands between you and your salvation. And this is why I use this chart. This is why I use the map of consciousness. You got to look at, what are those thoughts? I'm not good enough. I'm not capable enough. They have more than I do. They're keeping me from being happy. All those people who are mad with Charlie, they didn't have to listen to him. They could have just turned off the TV. They could have decided, he's talking nonsense, and gone about their business. But no, they made it their business to bash him. Well, what does that say about them? How immature, how moronic to say that you can't be happy because Charlie's belief system is different than yours. You put yourself in hell. Now I can't be happy because he's anti this, anti that. Who cares what he's anti? Who cares? You be you. You be happy. You do you. Unleash your creativity. Unleash your goodness. And you'll be so happy. But why are people so excited that he died? Because they were so miserable, because they gave him power. They projected on him. You are making me feel bad about me, because they're ignorant to the what has happened to them. They're ignorant to that. They're believing a thought in their head that says, Charlie has more power than I do because he's putting my group down. If you don't put your group down, your group is not down. You only accept what you believe is true, and it will be true for you because you won't question it. That is hell. That is hell. So search your mind for every thought that stands between you and your salvation, and apply the idea for today. And they gave us an example. My unloving thoughts about Charlie are keeping me in hell, but my holiness is my salvation. My unloving thoughts about myself are keeping me in hell. My unloving thoughts about Hitler are keeping me in hell, but my holiness is my salvation. When you repeat these things with sincerity, this is my truth, you will feel an incredible shift within you, a huge shift within you. Today's going a little longer than normal, but that's all right. I'm going to go with it. If you need to drop off, by all means, we've got only just a few more minutes here. Paragraph 9. You may find these practice periods easier if you intersperse Intersperse them with several short periods during which you merely repeat today's idea to yourself slowly a few times. So just be gentle with yourself. Taking an inventory of the thoughts in your mind that create your hell, you can't do that all day long without kind of having a psychotic break. So give yourself a little rest. Do the exercises, bring up those unloving thoughts, and then just spend time. My holiness is my salvation. My holiness is my salvation. Go for a walk and repeat, my holiness is my salvation. And then you can come back to that inventory because you want to see everything that stands in the way of you and the truth of who you are. Sentence 2 in paragraph 9. You may also find it helpful to include a few short intervals in which you just relax and do not seem to be thinking of anything. Sustained concentration is very difficult at first. It will become much easier as your mind becomes more disciplined and less distractible. So as you practice this, I've been doing these lessons, the Course in Miracles since 2011 is when I started. In earnest 2012, because then I did it every day that year. So for about 13 years, this is my go-to. I still take an inventory. What thoughts am I thinking? Because I want to be free of any hell within me. I don't want to be the source of my suffering now that I know that I am the creator of my reality. Paragraph 10. Meanwhile, you should feel free to introduce a variety into the exercise periods in whatever form appeals to you. Do not, however, change the idea itself as you vary the method of applying it. However you elect to use it, the idea should be stated so that its meaning is the fact that your holiness is your salvation. End each practice period by repeating the idea in its original form once more and adding, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? We're just beginning to introduce, this is only lesson 39 out of 365. We're beginning to introduce the curiosity. If guilt is hell, and I'm learning that hell is keeping myself in a state of believing things that are not true, listening to judgments about myself, if that is hell, then what is the opposite of hell? Not for it to be answered right this minute, because it will be answered when you accept that you are holy. You are only in hell because you're using your creative powers to believe things that are not true. We've got to start using our creative powers, believing things that are true, and then creating from that place. But we're not ready to create heaven on earth when we're in hell because our thoughts are of anger, are of judgment, are of shame and guilt and blame. This is hell. This lower frequency is hell. And too many people have been operating in that place. Charlie was just helping people rise up because he had the courage and the pride. He felt confident. There's something that I have to say, that I have to do. Nothing was going to stop him. Talk about give me liberty or give me death. He was exercising the liberty that is written in our founding documents. All of us have been endowed with the same inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you're not happy, you've got to find out what is it that you're believing that has you be so unhappy. There are going to be thoughts in your head. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. If you don't agree with what somebody thinks about you, you will not suffer. So the completion of this, in the shorter applications, which should be made some 3 to 4 times an hour, and more if possible, you may ask yourself this question. Repeat today's idea and preferably both. If temptations arise, a particular helpful form of the idea is my salvation is my holiness is my salvation from this. So we get the opportunity to be given incredible lessons, incredible teachings. And we tailor it and we work with it, and lots of uncomfortable things come up. If you want a guide, if you want a coach, I love doing this work. join us in the Awareness Academy. My life's purpose is to help you remember the truth of who you are, because I know who you are. To me, there is nobody that is not holy and beautiful and amazing and powerful. But either you know it or you don't. If you know it, great, let's celebrate together. If you don't, and you want to learn more about that, then great, we'll help you with that. If you don't want to see your magnificence, if you don't want to see the magnificence of others, then you can stay in your own hell. And I respect you as the creator that you are. For a long time, I used to try and get people to come out of their suffering. And then I realized if they're suffering and they don't want to come out, they are getting something out of it. I used to not want to think that anybody wanted to suffer until I realized, well, how long did I suffer for? Well, clearly, 40 some odd years of my life, I must have gotten something out of it. Yes, I did. I was feeding my insecurities. I was strengthening my ego's victim story and giving myself permission to show up as a bully. So I was getting something out of it. It was feeding my righteousness. So if somebody's not prepared to look at the things that they think that cause suffering for themselves and others, then bless you for being committed to that experience. We need those who are playing the darkest of roles so we can contrast it with what it is that we prefer. If you prefer light, the darkness helps you see what light is. If you walk out into the night sky and there's light pollution from, let's say, a busy city, you cannot appreciate the beautiful stars because it's not dark enough. But man, you come out here into the mountains where there's no light pollution, you really appreciate the dark. Because in the dark, I see the beautiful stars that I couldn't quite see when I lived in a big city. So I embrace the dark. Those who are playing those roles of ego are playing an important role that are allowing for those who want to align with their salvation, to align with their holiness, to see their holiness more clearly in contrast with the dark. I love you all so much, and I want to invite everybody to join us in the Academy. And this is free. Anybody who wants to participate next week on Thursday, on the 25th, I believe it is, my friend John Adams, who's a musician, is going to come and speak about the power of frequency, understanding vibration, understanding music has vibration, speaking has vibration, art has vibration, color has vibration. If you understand frequency, you understand that we are conditioned through music, through art, through, so many things to either go into the darkness, heavy metal, rap music, kill each other, rape each other, hurt each other. We are conditioned into lowering our frequency. But when you understand frequency, you will be able to easily recognize the music, the art, the things that elevate your consciousness. So come join us. I mean, it's free and it's at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And the Zoom link for that is inside of the Academy. Like I said, you can join for free so you can participate in that. Thank you all so much for being part of today's conversation. And if anybody has anything you want to say, unmute yourselves and share. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week. Always good to see you all, my friends.
Laina,
Mwah.
good to see you and good to hear. Just every word is a cool, clear water. I loved it.
Awesome.
I had to even go and move my body. And it's tonight that you said the friend of yours will be talking
No,
about the
next
vibration.
Thursday. Next Thursday, the
Thursday.
22nd.
Okay.
The 20th.
And yeah, I wanted to have a couple of notes. Do I have time to say a
Well,
couple of things?
actually, let me close this up because this is being recorded, and then
Okay.
you just reach out to me afterwards.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Laina. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love y'all.